School jokes. Teacher, Billy, name 2 pronouns. Billy, who, me. Teacher, very good. Sex jokes. Your best friend has 3 girlfriends. Their names are Do, Ray, and me. All 3 want to do something special, so they set up some dates. 3 days ago Do kisses him. 2 days ago Ray gives him vaginal sex. Yesterday, who sucks his dick? Jokes about men. A man bought a new car. Next day he is driving his car to office. On the way he was waiting for the signal. Suddenly he opened the door and got down. Then he went to the traffic police and asked him, "How much should I pay to turn right?" The policeman was astonished and asked, "Why are you asking like this?" Then man showed him the signboard which was in the corner of the road, "Free left turn." Black humor jokes. There's some soldiers in Vietnam. And they've been pinned down in their trench 4 days. Finally one guy says, "Fuck this, I really have to pee, guys. Lay down. Covering fire, I'll run into the bushes. When I'm done I'll give a signal and you can give me covering fire while I run back." So they lay down fire, and he runs off into the jungle. But he's gone for a good half an hour. They're finally convinced that he's been murdered by Charlie when they hear the signal. So they lay down fire and he sprints out of the jungle and leaps back into the trench. So obviously they're pretty confused. They ask, "What the hell took you so long, man?" The guy says, "Well, I was just finishing up my business, when I met this beautiful Vietnamese girl, and we just started having sex right there. We did every position imaginable, missionary, doggy style, everything. It was great." One of his buddies asks, "Well, did you get any head?" He replies, "There was no head." Animal jokes. Q. What will a giraffe do if you spit in its face? A. It will kick off your ladder euro. Military jokes. So, Donald Rumsfeld is briefing George Bush in the Oval Office. Oh, and finally, "Sir, 3 Brazilian soldiers were killed in Iraq today." Bush goes pale, his jaw hanging open in stunned disbelief. He buries his face in his hands, muttering, my God, Mr. President," says Cheney, "we lose soldiers all the time, and it's terrible. But I've never seen you so upset. What's the matter?" Bush looks up and says, "How many is a Brazilian?" Marriage jokes. A couple celebrates their 30th anniversary by re-walking their first walk together. They come to the fence against which they first made love. The husband says, "Come on, for old time's sake." The wife agrees and they both undress. Afterwards, the husband says, "You're even better than you were 30 years ago." His wife replies, "That fence wasn't electrified 30 years ago." Dirty jokes. This young boy named Don walked into a whorehouse, slammed his money on the counter and said, "I want a woman." The man behind the counter asked, "How old are you?" Don replied, "I'm 17. The man said, "You're too young, come back when you're older, meanwhile practice on trees." A year later Don once again came back to the whorehouse, swung the front door open, then shut, stomped over to the front desk and slammed his money on the counter harder than before. He screamed, "Give me a woman." The man behind the counter said, "How old are you?" Don shouted, "I am 18. The man took Don's money and said, "Okay, upstairs, second door on the left." Don didn't miss a beat. He ran up those stairs so fast he skipped every other step. It wasn't about 5 minutes later when the man behind the counter heard the whore upstairs screaming in complete and utter agony. So He jumped over the counter and ran up the stairs. Once at the room he kicked in the door and to his surprise Don had a broomstick shoved right up the whore's south-southeasty. The man shouted, "What are you doing?" Don simply replied, "Checking for squirrels." Dirty jokes. A woman walks into her sex therapist Euro Trademark's office and tells her that her husband is not a very good lover, and they rarely have sex anymore, and asks what to do about it. The therapist tells her that she has a new drug called Viagra that might do the trick. She tells the woman to give him one pill that night, and come back in the morning to tell her what happens. The next day the woman walks in ecstatic telling the therapist the Viagra worked, and she and her husband had the best sex ever. She asks her therapist what would happen if she gave her husband 2 pills. The therapist replies she doesn't Euro trademark no but says to go ahead and try it. The next day, the same thing happens, the woman comes in telling the therapist the sex was even better than the night before. She asks the therapist what would happen if she gave him 5 pills. The therapist once again tells her to give it a try. The following day the woman comes back in limp but happy, tells the therapist the sex just keeps getting better and better. She asks what would happen if she gave him the rest of the bottle. The therapist tells her it's a new drug and she doesn't Euro trademark know what a full bottle would do to a person. The woman leaves the office and puts the rest of the pills in her husband's morning coffee. A week later a boy walks into the therapist's office and asks, "Are you the Euro idiot Euro who gave my mother a bottle of Viagra?" "Why yes. Young man, I did." "Why?" "Well, Moma Euro trademark S dead, my sister a Euro trademark S pregnant, my a Euro hurts, and dad just sits in the corner going, here kitty, kitty, kitty Euro a Euro." Black humor jokes. An apple and a black person both fall off a tree at the exact same time. Who hits the ground first? The apple, because the rope catches the black person.